Greetings VC, Andy here again, and this video is it's the first part of my monthly roundup of new releases I bought in the previous months. So here we are, beginning of April, Easter weekend, and I'm looking at 4 albums that I bought, and I've got another 5, some of which came quite late in the month, so I'll do those in a separate one. So 4 here, and unusually I'm starting with a compilation, a various artists compilation, which is fabulous. So and it is Help 2. So you know, this sort of series started off in the mid-90s, and basically it's a charity record for the War Child charity. The first one was done called Help. Was done in the I think it was 95. It was the mid-90s anyway, you know, at that time it was all the sort of Yugoslavia breakup and the fighting going on in the Balkans there. So I mean, with everything going on in the world, they've decided to do another one called Help 2. You know, it was ironic, even though this was recorded before all the stuff in Iran was going on. So it's ironic it comes out, released at the beginning of March, pretty well just as a delusional, demented dictator kicks off a war on little more than a whim, with no plan and no care for the very predictable consequences. Just saying. And you know, there's some of the lyrics in some of these songs, you know, even though it wasn't specific to what's going on there, it could well have been written for it, to be honest. Anyway, enough of my rant about what's going on in the world. This is a charity part. This is a fabulous compilation, great mix of artists, mostly British because it's a British produced album, but quite a lot of American contributors too. Some really interesting ones. It's a mix of covers and new and sort of. In some cases, an artist's earlier record, which they've redone, often with other collaborators, and in some cases, completely new songs. It was produced in quite difficult circumstances. So James Ford, the producer, has put this together, and basically they sort of had a week in Abbey Road Studios in November to pull all this together. Now, not everyone made it to London for that, so that some of them were recorded elsewhere. But during that recording, James Ford, who was diagnosed with leukemia apparently in 2024, suffered a relapse and had to do a lot of the listening from a hospital bed while he was undergoing blood transfusions. But nevertheless, he's put together a very good record. A lot of the contributors on here are artists that he produces and is quite close to, but not solely. A fabulous mix. Now I'm going to quickly go through some of them. It's a double. It's a full double plus a 7-inch single, and the 7-inch single is a live recording by Oasis of their track Acquiesce, which was done last year when they were doing that sort of reunion tour. I'll quickly go through the listing because it's such a mix of artists, but it flows brilliantly. There's not, you know, even though there's lots of different styles, it's just a complete album, really, really well produced. Kicks off with the Arctic Monkeys. Then there's a mix of Damon Albarn, Grian Chatton of Fontaines DC and K Tempest. Then Black Country New Road come in. The Last Dinner Party and Beth Gibbons. All varied but superb. For example, The Last Dinner Party Let's Do It Again. It's really, really upbeat. And that was one of their sort of songs which they never put on an album from before their debut. Side B, in some ways, is my favourite side. And it opens up with a collaboration between Arooj Aftab, who is, I believe, a Pakistani stroke American dual citizen, absolutely beautiful voice she has, and she's doing a cover with Beck of Lilac Wine, and that is achingly beautiful. King Cruel comes up, and then an amazing one. I'm going to do the sample of this one. Depeche Mode are doing a cover of Buffy St. Marie's protest song "Universal Soldier." It's brilliant. Now it's very Depeche Mode, but the sort of synth background to it is almost a little bit it's a little bit krautrocky. It's almost a bit Kraftwerk, but it is superb. Then you've got a tremendous Ezra Collective, the jazz people, and Green Tea Peng are doing basically a reggae song, really good. Arlo Parks, then a collaboration between English Teacher and Graham Cox, and then Bee Badoobie finishes that one. And then on side C, we've got Big Thief, beautiful song, you know, wonderful singing from Adrian Lenker. Then you've got Fontaine's DC, and this is a absolutely superb one, doing Black Boys on a Moped, which was a protest song that Sinead O'Connor did in the 80s as a protest against what was going on in Britain at the time under Margaret Thatcher. And then you've got, this is a superb one, very, very different. Cameron Winter of Geese doing a solo called Warning. And on here he sings about dictators getting away with it for a long time. Yeah, indeed. Young Fathers, Pulp, a new record from Pulp, finishes with Samford doing a lovely singing, not rapping on here. Then on side D you've got Wet Leg, Obvious, and that's quite a subdued one for Wet Leg. It's not a sort of face. It's very, very, very nice though. Foals, Bat for Lashes, and somebody else with a beautiful voice. And then an Anna Calvi song, Sunday Light, which she sings with Ellie Rousel, Nulifer Yanya and Dove Ellis. And it finishes with Olivia Rodrigo doing The Book of Love. Absolutely superb record. Let me put that over there. And it is just, as I say, a full double plus 7-inch on just black vinyl.
And he's killing for Canada, he's killing for France, he's killing for the USA, and he's killing for the Russians, and he's killing for Japan, and he thinks we're putting an end to war this way.
And now a really important studio album, and I suspect, you know, come the year end, this is. I'm not going to say it's going to be number one because I don't think it will be, but I think it will certainly be high up on my list. And it's a fascinating album, very, very different, and it is the Mountain by Gorillaz. So Gorillaz obviously being the Damon Albarn and his long-term, you know, friend Jamie Hewlett. Jamie is essentially a cartoonist, and this is incredible record. I mean, it's got a very, very Indian bass to it, and it's quite interesting. This to me is, I mean, this is their 9th studio album. The first sort of few early on, up until about Plastic Beach, I thought were very good, but they've not really done anything which has really sort of grabbed me since then. But this one does. This is a superb album, and it's really sort of infected with grief and this Indian connection, and you know, there's a sort of story about it that it's about a couple of visits to India under difficult circumstances. So the first one was Jamie Hewlett. His mother-in-law had a stroke while I was visiting somewhere in North India, and he had to go out with his wife and stuff. And I think she died over there, and they did all that sort of sorting out stuff. And then they planned to sort of, you know, pick that theme and go back. And then both their fathers died within 10 days of each other. And so they were dealing with all of that. And Damon Albarn, I think Damon Albarn's dad was a bit of an old hippie. And Damon took his ashes out to the Ganges, swam in the Ganges and scattered his ashes in the Ganges because, you know, which is obviously a very Hindu thing to do, but that's what his dad wanted. And they sort of, you know, the whole, I'll open the opening track is not necessarily the best one. It's mostly instrumental, but it's got this really Indian feel to it, and it sort of, you know, it's one of those things. If that grabs you and you like it, you'll like the whole album. If you really don't like that, then, you know, you're not going to like the album. Basically, it's not all Indian, but there is a lot of sitar in there. There's I can't remember what her name is. I should have written it down, but I think she's Ravi Shankar's either daughter or granddaughter or something like that. A classical sitar player, and they're also interesting with the sort of death theme on there. They've gone. I mean, it's Gorillaz, so there's lots of collaborators on here anyway. But Albarn has gone back and basically picked samples of some of their past collaborations with artists that are now dead, which weren't necessarily used on the albums they worked on. So, for example, you've got bits from Bobby Womack, Tony Allen, and Dennis Hopper, just to name a few, and the rapper is it D12? I'm not very good at rap stuff. So, in there, and it's also got a bit of an Obi strip, and there is interestingly, because Hewlett is obviously a cartoonist, and they've done I can't remember how long it is. I think it's about 12 minutes long video cartoon, which was completely hand drawn, and it actually took longer to do the cartoon than it did the album, because it hasn't been done on a computer. The whole thing has been done by hand painted pictures and then put together in you know, stop-start photography, whatever it's called. It's on YouTube. I'll put a link to it because it's really, really nice. It's just like, if you remember Disney's The Jungle Book, it's basically sort of taking its theme from that and plays back to that sort of, that period of cartoons. Lovely, a full double on yellow vinyl. And you know, they're sort of with slightly world music with that Indian influence. The next one is Turkish, basically, but a Turkish band out of Amsterdam, based in Amsterdam, and that is Altin Gun and their album Garrett. Now, this is I have heard bits from them before, but this is the first album I've bought, and basically I was really interested in some of the reviews I was picking up. Streamed a couple of tracks and thought I really liked that, so I sort of bought it right literally the weekend when it came out, and I've listened to it quite a few times since, and really enjoying it. So basically, as I say, Altin Gun are Turkish. The people are Turkish, and they sort of play a form of what it's called Anatolian, which is obviously the sort of Asian bit of Turkey, sort of psych-rock, but with a Turkish influence. But this album is all it's a sort of a tribute to I have never heard of, but apparently is an icon of Turkish folk music, Anatolian folk music, called, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the names other than as it looks in English, Neset Ertaz. As I say, I've never heard of him, but apparently he was an iconic folk artist in Turkey, and who apparently died, you know, sometime recently. And what they've done is that these aren't covers, but they are all based on compositions by Neset Ertas, but without Altin Gun giving them their own sort of take. So it's quite, I mean, it's described, I saw it described as psychedelic funk. And it is quite funky in places, but not in a traditional sort of, you know, New York funk sort of way. And there's lots of lush string arrangements. Oh, that was the other thing I saw, cinematic funk. I've no idea what cinematic funk is, but sort of, it is quite cinematic in places. Lots of big orchestral strings, and they have that, you know, that I don't even know what this means, Saz-driven psychedelic rock. So, and the band is apparently quite different from before, because it used to be a six-piece, and their singer, female singer, was Merve Dazdemir, who has left and not been replaced. So the vocals now are by basically the band's leader, Erdink Esevit. So it's now a male vocal rather than a female vocal. I've never heard, well, I have heard bits, but I don't know them from old. Track-wise, so I'll play a sample. My favourite track is the opener of side B, which is called Sukum Nedir. And this is where it's got those really dreamy sort of, dreamy strings and quite a cinematic feel. Then you've got sort of side one, Gonul Dagu, which is quite a slow burning, and you can imagine it being done in a desert somehow. And the closing track, I nearly did this one. This is my second favourite. Bir Nazar Ayladim is quite synth heavy, but it's a big closer. It's almost a little bit proggy in a way, but from a sort of more psych than prog. And very interesting. In a sort of molten gold, I think no, liquid gold they called it. That's right, but it's basically a slightly marbly gold affair. Single LP. And lastly, but not least, was the Rough Trade album of the month. And this is one of those albums which I really, really like, really enjoy, but I never would have thought about actually going and buying it. And it's by an artist called, it comes with a sort of obi strip called Joshua Idehen, who is he's a sort of, he was born in London but grew up a lot in Nigeria. And he's sort of basically from a Nigerian family. So he's a UK Nigerian citizen, but based in Stockholm. And the album is called I Know You're Hurting. Everyone is hurting. Everyone is trying. You've got to try. It's a bit of a mouthful. Now, Joshua is essentially a poet. So this is poems, rather than songs, but set to music and set to sort of dance music, electronic. Really, really good. He's got a partner, and I presume that's his partner, who is basically the producer and the musician, who is called so he's Swedish. So the bass there, Ludwig Parmant is that, and it's got a download code. Now I nearly always use these myself, but I haven't used that. So if anyone, I don't know if it, There you go. If you want to use it, please feel free. First in, obvs. As I say, these are poems, and normally sort of spoken word poetry doesn't really do masses for me, but I really enjoy this. It really works. There is a standout track which I've heard on the radio quite a bit on Six Music, which I think is brilliant, and that's called "Mum Does the Washing." Apparently, it went viral, but. And it is brilliant. It's a list poem rather than a narrative poem, which the sort of the rest of them are. I'll do the sample of that, and it's basically it's about it's a take on all the isms and things. A massive long list of them. Around your mother always doing the washing, the truism of your mother doing all of them, and there's some really funny parts in there. So for example, I could pick any bit of it, but I've taken a sample which just fits nicely into 30 seconds. But there's some other funny ones. So for example, Americanism is. Your mum does the washing. It's written in the Constitution. End of discussion. And there's another one from his African roots, which is Africanism. You go to Benny's mum does the washing. You go back home and ask your mum why she doesn't do the washing. You don't survive the night, which I thought was quite funny. It's just brilliant. But the rest of it, and that's got a really delightful, almost sort of birdsong, twittering. It's not birdsong, it's actually a vocal, but it might be a synthesizer, but it's sort of got this like twittering background, which really works well. Other ones are really dance, they're quite house. Musically, it's really good, which is why the whole thing works together. I'm really loving this one, and it is fabulous on a sort of half yellow and half black one. So definitely interesting. All these go in my interesting pile.
Liberalism. You watch your mom do the washing and you feel really, really bad. Something must be done, you say. Something may or may not get done. Libertarianism. Your mom does the washing. You believe you did the washing. Religion. Your mom does the washing. You thank God. Atheism. Your mom does the washing. You make a 12-part YouTube video demanding peer-reviewed evidence that she did, in fact, do the washing.
That's 4. As I say, I've got another 5 to cover. Sort of 3 of them were really late on, so I haven't really listened to them enough, so I'll do those after Easter. So thanks for watching. Cheers.